Hey everybody, Steve Burns here. I am pretty excited this week. I really enjoy 3D. I've been a Lightwave artist for quite some time. Lightwave, if you don't know what it was one of the original 3D programs on the market for the commercial and also for the artists, so that the artists can actually, with very few people, can create their own art as well as create their own films. So, but now Adobe has championed this concept of 3D within its own environment. And why is that? Because I think the industry has gone to using 3D so much in the commercial industry, as well as the special effects in the films, that if you are a concept artist and you created a scene with, say, for example, a spaceship or a space scene, and there's a starship involved in it, and then you finish painting it, you give it to your creative director, and the creative director says, "I love the shot. However, I want the ship angled more 45 degree to the right. Give it more of a wide angle perspective." In the past, you would have to repaint that all over again, but now with 3D, you no longer have to repaint. What you can do is get the 3D model from your neighboring partner who actually in charge of the 3D department would give you the model. You bring it into 3D layers from Photoshop, make the adjustments that your director has suggested, and then show your results back to your creative director and get the green light on it. So now 3D has been introduced into Photoshop. What I would like to do this week is focus on the understanding the 3D interface, custom creating your 3D objects, learning how to navigate your 3D objects, and merging your 3D objects. And the next week after, I'm going to get involved into texturing your 3D objects. And then the week after that, we're going to get into how to actually composite the 3D objects into a scene to tell a story. So 3D is often considered very daunting by artists. So trying to throw everything into one week is just crazy. So we needed to break this up a little bit. So we're just going to focus on some understanding the 3D interface in Photoshop and learning how to construct 3D objects. So let me share with you a little more some of the work that I've done. Now, if you want to learn more about 3D in Photoshop, you're welcome to pick up my new book, 3D Photoshop for Creative Professionals. It also is accompanied with an app that works on both the Droid as well as the Apple devices, mobile devices, where you can actually spin the 3D objects around, move them in and out, and kind of compare them to what I've done. And it includes other educational videos as well. Let me share more of custom created 3D objects in Photoshop. Wacom Companion, this is the computer that I use quite a bit. I'm sitting at cafes or doing presentations or working on my artwork. This is what I use, draw and paint directly on the monitor. And this was all custom created inside of 3D in Photoshop, not a third-party program, all natively textured, modeled, lit, and rendered inside of Photoshop. So yes, you have all those capabilities. Here's another example. I wanted to show something a little more of an illustration concept, where you want to expose the interior of wire gauges here, and all custom modeled, textured, lit, and rendered in Photoshop. Everything here. The watch was a fun one. In fact, one of the product managers, a 3D product manager for Adobe, didn't believe this was actually done in Photoshop. He insisted that I actually did this with a third-party program. So I sent him the Photoshop file, and he was quite surprised. They didn't intend, Adobe programmers did not intend for people to actually model in Photoshop. They thought it would be a program that would be primarily used for importing 3D objects, third-party 3D projects from other programs, so it can be utilized in 3D layers. Here's another example, all modeled, custom modeled, textured, lit, and rendered in Photoshop. This is an object I found in my kitchen drawer, and it's basically a wine cork opener, and I figured this is an interesting object. I bet you I can actually build this in Photoshop and light it and render it in Photoshop. So I did. And this one came out pretty nice. I'm going to go down here My tech editor for my book mentioned I have to include text. I didn't want to include 3D text because I figured that everybody else on the internet has been doing videos on 3D text. So I figured if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do something a little bit different. And so this is what I came up with. Now, binoculars, all textured in Photoshop. And this one came out pretty good. Let's go down to the next one. We're going to start off with simple extrusions as well, and that's what this wine bottle and the wine glass and the wine inside is all done with simple extrusions. This wine in here is actually a 3D object. It's not texture mapped. So the only thing texture mapped on this scene is this wine bottles. We can see the label on there, but everything else has been modeled. Wine, the glass, the wine glass, wine bottle, as well as the base that this is sitting on, the sandy base that it's sitting on. Let's go down to the next one. Sword and Stone, a little bit, is a little pretty cliche, but it was a fun one. I just want to do something where the user can realize that if you want to do something for a gaming environment, you can actually build gaming stuff in Photoshop. 3D swords and daggers and hatchets and all that stuff can be done in Photoshop. This mound of clay here in Photoshop, everything. The water is done in Photoshop. Here's another example of a city scene that I built in Photoshop. Now, the starships I actually modeled inside of Lightwave. And this was a particular tutorial on how to build the 3D city inside of Photoshop, but also import third-party objects to tell a story. Okay, so eventually this is where we're heading to. This is where we're going to. We're going to tell a story. Now I'm going to go down to the next one, and we're going back to we finished up with the 3D text here. Okay, so Behance, I love Behance. It's basically Facebook for artists. It's a great way to showcase your portfolio. You have an account, having the Creative Cloud, so most definitely utilize it. So shall we get into understanding the 3D interface inside of Photoshop?